Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Scoreboard, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons. And it's been a super eventful week this past week in the NBA. And first off, we're going to start off with the NBA Finals, Game 7. Obviously, the biggest talking point around this game, outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder winning their first ever championship in Oklahoma City, it's Tyrese Halliburton. Man, it sucks to see such an amazing player who struggles with confidence on some nights start the game off so hot. Three threes in the first 6 minutes, 9 points, and then go down with the torn Achilles injury. I mean, it's tough to see. Obviously, he knew the risk. He went out there, he played through it, and he gave himself and his team a chance to win that game 7. It just sucks that he wasn't able to be on the court the whole game because that game 7 could have been one of the best game 7s of all time if Tyrese Halliburton was able to be on the court the whole game. Because that first quarter, 9 points to start that game after he's kind of struggled a lot of this finals. And yeah, to look at him and say he's got three threes in the first 6 minutes, this is going to be a Tyrese Halliburton type game. And it sucks. Players need to start taking the calf calf tightness, Achilles tendonitis. They need to start taking it a lot more serious. But I mean, it's it's game 7 of the NBA Finals. I don't think if I was in his position, I would have played, even if I knew that I have a 50-50% chance to go out there and tear my Achilles. I'd still give myself that opportunity to be playing because this is what you work your whole career for, is to play in a game 7 of an NBA Finals. Give yourself a chance to win the NBA Finals as the star player. So I have no he did what anybody would do if they were in his position, and obviously it didn't go the way that he would want it to go, didn't go the way the Pacers would want it to go, didn't go the way NBA fans would have wanted it to go, but I mean, he gave himself a chance, and that's all we could ask for in a player is give yourself a chance to be on the court and give us something, and he gave us a spark. And I don't know, this finals, seeing just the I don't know if it's the fact that the Pacers, like a lot of the Pacers players, first time ever being in the finals, they've worked a lot to get there. That's why they were so emotional, or if it was because of the Tyrese Halliburton injury early on in this game that made so many people so emotional. And even myself, not even being a Pacers fan, but just being an NBA fan and somebody that watches basketball when the season's on, like 24/7, I'm watching basketball. It just felt so emotional seeing Tyrese go down, and that image of him just hitting the ground, just knowing that what happened, and the ESPN just continuing to play it over and over and over again. That's gonna be stuck in my mind probably for my whole life. If I ever think of Tyrese Halliburton, I'm probably going to think of that injury and that image of him laying on the ground, pounding like slapping the floor and just saying like, man, like it was just so sad. And another image that's gonna stick with me is him standing outside the locker room, greeting all of his teammates, all of the staff for the Pacers. Just a great leader, great guy, loves basketball. You could tell just by the way that he always has a smile on his face, no matter where he's at, no matter what the outcome of a game is. He's always smiling. And even from a Kings fan perspective, knowing that we drafted Tyrese Halliburton a couple years ago, traded him away, so it's not like he's stuck in my heart. but knowing that a former king is doing great things, and yeah, I mean it's just so sad, and just a great guy, great leader, and he means so much to Indiana. And now what they're gonna do next year is they're not gonna be without him for a whole season, maybe 2 seasons, because we saw Kevin Durant dealt with the same thing in the finals, and it set him out 2 years. So we'll see what happens with Tyrese. Hopefully, it's just a 1 year thing, and then he never has to deal with it ever again in his career. But yeah, I mean, three torn Achilles in the NBA playoffs this playoff run. Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Halliburton, all three amazing guys, NBA all NBA level, all stars. It's just it's just crazy that these the amount that these NBA players, the stress they put on their bodies, and the fact that NBA fans, including myself, I will be 100% honest. Thinking back, like watching this Tyrese Halliburton injury made me think back to when they played the Cavs and they played all that one game with no Evan Mobley, no DeAndre Hunter, no Darius Garland. I was critical of Kenny Atkinson and Darius Garland sitting out because of a toe injury, but now he just had surgery not that long ago on his toe, and so I feel bad that I was critical about it, and I'm going to change my mindset about injuries. I've never taken calf injuries or leg injuries for granted. Toe injury, because it's the NBA playoffs, I took it as like you should be on the court. But the fact that he had to get surgery, he's going to be out for a while. I'm changing my changing my idea about it and changing my reaction to him sitting out. And I apologize for being critical of Darius Garland sitting out. So I hope to change how my thinking is towards injuries. And I think a lot of people are changing their thoughts towards injuries and seeing Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Halliburton all go down in the same playoffs and realize that these guys just want to play for a championship, and they're going to do it injured, like beat up, fully healthy. They're all going to put everything on the line. I mean, Damian Lillard got rushed back from deep vein thrombosis, blood clots in his calf, and I was questioning him coming back so soon because it felt like he wasn't going to be playing in the playoffs, and then just randomly it was like Damian Lillard's questionable for game three. Now he's playing in game three or game four or whatever it was. So some injuries we just need to take a lot more careful, be with open mind as NBA fans and just fans of any sports, because this isn't just a basketball injury. This is an any sport injury. A lot of Achilles injuries happen in the NFL, and yeah, it's just we have to be more open, understand what these players are going through, the amount of stress they put on their body, and the fact that an Achilles injury, an ACL injury, that could put you out in a whole year to 2 years, and you might not come back the same player. So we just got to be a little bit more respectful of their choices and understanding of what these players choose because they know their body the best. Now, to the other side, the Oklahoma City Thunder. First NBA championship for the city of Oklahoma City. And I mean, the biggest thing I loved about this run for OKC, dominant regular season, dominant start to the postseason and dominant end to the postseason, in my opinion. Now, Game 7 obviously would have been a lot different if Tyrese Halliburton was able to play. That's going to be one of the biggest what ifs in recent history is Tyrese Halliburton going down. Like, does that change who gets this NBA championship? And Does this slow down the Oklahoma City Dynasty, or is this the start of the dynasty, the Tyrese Halliburton injury? They're such a young team, got so many young pieces. They already have their leader, who is an MVP, going to continue to lead the league in scoring probably for the next 5, 6 years, or be at the top of the list. And yeah, this team is ready to be a dynasty in the NBA. Now, I get the whole second apron is trying to cut down on the dynasty, but the way they draft, the way Sam Presti builds his teams is creating a dynasty within the second apron window and the second apron era that we are now in the NBA. I love the parity era that we are in. I love seeing new champions every year. I also like the dynasty. I am a Michael Jordan fan, so obviously I love the pure dominance of one team for a whole decade, like the Warriors of the 2010s, like the Spurs of the 2000s, of the Lakers of the 2000s, the Lakers of the 80s, the Celtics, the Bulls of the 90s. Like I love pure dominant teams, but I also like seeing so many different players win a championship because we and I hope this changes the talks of like the ring culture and how the ring is the most important thing to some players. Like Tracy McGrady, amazing player. I don't think he ever got past the first round, I believe. Maybe like once when he was on the Spurs, but in his prime, he never got past the first round, never won a championship. He's a Hall of Fame player, one of the most skilled guards of all time. And it changes the ring conversation, which obviously is a part of basketball, but when you're talking about some of these guys that only have one ring compared to zero rings, it shouldn't hold people above others. It should just be more skill based, counting stats based, like amount that they did to the game. Allen Iverson never won a championship. One of the most influential players of all time, one of the most skilled players of all time, revolutionized the crossover, and he gets talked down upon because he never won a ring. In this parody era, you see so many guys getting maybe just one ring in their career and then they're done. Like Shea could just get one ring and then be done for the rest of his career not getting a ring. But seeing it in a parody era, I don't think we're gonna be like, oh, Shea is miles ahead of Allen Iverson because he has that one ring. That's my biggest thing with the parody era that I love. I love that we saw Giannis get a ring, Jokic get a ring, Shea get a ring now, Curry get another ring, the Celtics get a ring. Like it's just such a fun time in basketball because you don't know who to predict going into the start of the year, who's going to win the championship. Obviously, a lot of people picked the Thunder to win this year, picked them to be dominant all year. I picked Shea to be my MVP. I didn't exactly pick them to be the NBA champions, but a lot of people did, and they were dominant all year long, and they got to their position and they thrived. They fulfilled everything they did, and they also deserve some props for that game seven. I mean, in a game where the star player of the opposite team goes down early, that is it's not just a change in the game plan for the team that lost the star player, it's also the changing game plan for the opposite team. When you play a team and your whole game plan is to slow down one guy and that guy goes down, now you have to change your whole game plan and your whole mindset and be like, we need to lock in on this guy like Pascal Siakam, or we need to limit just like TJ McConnell, which he put everything on the line. He deserves all of his credit. Indiana, I, I love a lot of the players on Indiana. I hope the second apron doesn't ruin this team in a couple years because I really like Andrew Nemhard. I like Aaron Nesmith. Like I like TJ McConnell. I like Miles Turner. Like all those guys kind of fit Indiana and fit Indiana basketball. They fit perfectly next to Tyrese Halliburton. All these people just fit well together. And TJ McConnell, I mean, he had like 12 straight points in the third quarter. He was putting everything on the line. He was super emotional after the game, was sad to see. And yeah, I mean, the Pacers just deserve all their credit. I picked the Thunder to win this series in five, and they gave us two more games. They put us in the best position in the best game in all of sports, which is a game seven in the NBA Finals. We haven't had one for 9 years, so shout out to the Pacers for doing their thing, getting it to a game seven, giving themselves a chance against one of the dominant team all season long. And yeah, it's a big what if, but if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't get injured, that's a maybe the Pacers get their first ever championship. So, well, first ever championship post merger. But Thunder, they get their first since I think 79, first in Oklahoma City. And Shea, finals MVP. Obviously, you saw that just the pure enjoyment from so many young guys. That I think that's the biggest thing. Just seeing a lot of the people that were a part of this Thunder organization prior to this NBA championship. They had 23 wins a couple years ago or 24 wins, like Aaron Wiggins was saying in his speech. Like we went from that 3 years later to being NBA championship or NBA champions, 2 straight years being the number one seed, having the best record in the league for 2 straight years. I mean, yeah, and I mean, they just feel like such a brotherhood out there. Like even the guys that aren't on the team, like Trey Mann was supporting them, uh, Pokusevski was supporting them. All these guys, Josh Giddey was supporting, like all those guys. They have no like ill feels to their former team. Like they just understand that we're a brotherhood if we're in Oklahoma City together. But that brotherhood could be broken for the betterment of Oklahoma City and for a betterment of a lot of us. And pretty much a betterment for every single person involved. I mean, Trey Mann, he wasn't really known on the Thunder. He had a really good breakout start to the year before he got injured. If he was able to play all year, he would have been kind of a household name now. I mean, if you were watching basketball or watching the NBA to start the year, watching preseason, I mean, dude was looking at like Allen Iverson out there, like the way he was dressing, the way he was playing, everything. So guys like that, they just gotta. Josh Giddey was leading the Bulls a lot this past season. He's gonna get paid this year, so they understand that it's the betterment for the team themselves, and they don't have any ill judgment towards anybody a part of the organization. Sam Presti just understands how to put his team in the perfect position. And shout out to him getting his first ever ring. I mean, he's been there since I believe when KD was drafted, finally gets his first ring, and he feels like one of the GMs that his job is 100% safe. That dude's not leaving anytime soon. Now, obviously, we've seen crazier things happen, so not going to say that it's 100% true, but I don't see a world where Sam Presti in 10 years still isn't the GM of the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's just 15 draft picks in the next like 5 years. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. And the fact that they just now got their first ring and their star player's only 26. Like a lot of stars don't hit their prime until 27. That's Shea next year. He's going to be in the prime of his career, and J Dub hasn't hit his prime yet. Chet hasn't hit his prime. I mean, they had Nikola Topic, who was what the seventh, 11th overall pick last year. He was a lottery pick last year. Didn't play a single minute. Now he's going to be coming in next year off a championship with pretty much no expectations for himself. Just to go out there, hoop, be me, and yeah, I'm gonna get my minutes. We're gonna be dominant again. Like this team is just so well built. Happy to see a lot of those guys get their ring. They're so young that like them celebrating felt kind of weird. There wasn't. I mean, Alex Caruso's and Kenrich Williams are like their vets. They're their two oldest people on the team. It was just funny seeing them celebrate in the locker room, and none of them knew how to open the champagne. We saw Jay Will drink his first ever beer and go, man, where did tequila at? It was just such a fun team, and love to see that they continue to have fun. The mayor of Oklahoma City has announced that like all of July is like Oklahoma City month, I guess. Like starting from like July 6th to July 30th, every single day is a different player's day that was on this Oklahoma City Thunder team. So like July 30th is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander Day. I think like October or not October, what the heck? July 6th is maybe Sam Presti Day or Mark Daignault. So crazy. But yeah, I mean that's the NBA Finals and now the season is officially over with. Don't have any more basketball for a couple months, which is sad to see. But we are into the off season now. This is where things get spicy, and we've already seen it get spicy a little bit so far. We're gonna talk about some trades that have happened so far. First, the biggest trade that's happened so far. Well, not the biggest trade. The first big trade that's happened so far is Desmond Bane going to the Orlando Magic for KCP, Cole Anthony, and 5 first round picks. Two of them are pick swaps, or one of them is a pick swap. 4 first round picks and 1 pick swap. Now, for both teams, for the Grizzlies, I I'm a little questionable about this move. I feel like now we'll talk about the draft in a little bit. I love their draft, but it makes me feel that they're not confident in anybody on their team other than maybe Triple J. I like the move getting off Desmond Bane's contract, knowing Triple J is going to have that huge extension eligibility, and hopefully Ja can stay healthy for this next year, and you know he's your star that you can build around. I love the trade for the Magic, getting Desmond Bane, a guy that is a proven scorer, 3 point like shot creator, which Orlando being the worst offense of last season, this is just a huge spark and a huge addition to this team. Gives them a lot of different things. I mean, 3 point shooting. He's not a push around on defense. I mean, he's not a plus defender, but he's also not a negative defender. And he's going to be able to be kind of hidden with a lot of people on his team. I mean, Jalen Suggs is going to be their other backcourt member with him. He's an amazing defender. So having that pairing of Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs in the backcourt with Franz and Paulo in the front court, and then whoever you decide to go with as your center. I love that roster. And now that the East is kind of wide open, they're jumping up that leaderboard, seeing where they're going to be. I mean, right now, Boston we're looking at is going to fall off. I don't think they're going to completely fall off like a lot of people are predicting, with Jason Tatum not being there, and obviously trading away Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. They're going to fall down. The Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton, they're not going to be as um poised. They're not going to be as uh like locked into a certain position. I don't think they're going to fall much. I think they're going to be pretty even. It's just going to be in the playoffs is where you might see them fall. But Orlando, I mean, they were just in the playoffs as the 7th seed from the play-in. I think they're going to skip right by the play-in they're going to be a lock playoff team next year if they can shore up the center position. I like a couple of their centers. I just think you need to lock in with somebody that you're 100% consistent with, that Jamal Mosley is 100% confident in. A lot of these big men that they got, I don't know if they're 100% confident in that they're going to be like the guy for them that's going to do everything they need. Really, all they need from a center, a little bit of three-point shooting, maybe, but I think rebounding is the biggest thing. Paolo's a pretty solid rebounder. Franz is a pretty solid rebounder. They just need a plus rebounder at the center position and somebody that can maybe stretch the floor a little bit, give some space to Suggs driving, give it space to Bane driving, and give space to Paolo driving. So, rating this trade for Orlando, I'm going to give it now 4 first round picks and a pick swap. This is what Mikal Bridges went for a couple years ago. And now obviously you look at it and you it's so the Luka Doncic trade messed everything up for the NBA and how people look at trades. Because obviously the Lakers only gave up 1 first round pick and Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, who is one of the best players in the NBA. So when you get anybody less than Luka Doncic and you have to give up 4 to 5 first round picks or anything more than 1 first round pick, then you look at it as like this is a bad trade. But in my opinion, I'm still gonna give Orlando a B, B plus, maybe even I'll give them a B plus to an A minus right now for this trade for Desmond Bane. For the Grizzlies, you get off some contract, open up some space, and you give more minutes to Jalen Wells, which I love. He's going to be 100% a consistent starter for you. He showed that last year, but now that you don't have to worry about him maybe not fitting in next to Ja and Desmond Bane, he's going to fit perfectly in being a defensive minded guy that can knock a couple shots down, get to the basket, and you get 4 to 5 first round picks. You also get KCP, who you can maybe move on from and maybe keep him. He could be a solid 3 and D guy still for you. I mean, he didn't shoot well last year, but I'm not expecting that to continue the rest of his career. I think he can bounce back a little bit, nothing crazy, but yeah, I mean, and then you get Cole Anthony, who could be a solid bench guard for you. I mean, it was kind of sad seeing him leave Orlando. He's one of the longest like tenured guys on Orlando, other than like Jonathan Isaac or yeah, it might be Jonathan Isaac and then Cole Anthony as the two longest tenured guys. But yeah, I'm gonna give for Memphis. I'm gonna give it a B. I think I'm gonna just give it a solid B, maybe a B plus. I think you move in a direction of Desmond Bane wasn't a for sure guy that you were 100% confident was going to be there for the long run, and it opens up contract space for Jaren Jackson Jr. to sign his huge extension that he's going to be eligible for soon. Now, this trade is at first before the Tyrese Halliburton injury, it was like okay, like the Pacers just traded for their own first round pick and gave up the 23rd overall pick. But now with Tyrese Halliburton getting injured, if the Indiana Pacers are bad next year, they traded for their own first round pick in 2026. They locked up themselves having their own first round pick, being able to control what they're going to do next year. Like if they're halfway through the year and they're still looking like they're going to be a playoff team, be a playoff team. If you're looking at your bottom of the Eastern Conference, like play in bottom of the playoffs, I would look to maybe tank the rest of the year, get another first round pick that could maybe be somebody solid in the next draft. Maybe you get crazy odds and you land the first overall pick and you get AJ Debonsa. I mean, give yourself a chance. But it was before the Tyrese Halliburton injury, and now looking back on it, this is an amazing trade. And Yeah, I mean, crazy how that worked out, but yeah, I mean, nothing crazy. Indiana gets an A plus. New Orleans, let me just look at what they drafted with the 23rd overall pick. I was watching the draft last night, but can't fully remember who was each pick so far. 23rd overall pick was Asa Newell, but that went to Atlanta. And where did. Oh, they got Derek Queen in this trade. So I'm going to give it an A for both teams in this trade. The Pelicans, they get Derek Queen after moving up from the 23rd overall pick to get Derek Queen at 13, I believe. And the Pacers get to control their destiny next year, whatever they choose to do. And that's an A for both teams, in my opinion. Now, the biggest trade so far. Kevin Durant has been the biggest guy that we've, other than Giannis, but Giannis has kind of closed off those talks of maybe getting traded. But Kevin Durant is headed to the Houston Rockets. This trade, I love it for the Houston Rockets. You get to, and so this is the full details of the trade. Houston gets Kevin Durant. Phoenix gets Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the first round pick, which was the 10th overall pick, that they drafted Kaman Maluwak, and 4 second round picks. Huge haul for a 36-year-old, in my opinion. Huge haul. But Dylan Brooks, if you look at his role in Houston, is expendable. You can get rid of that because you have a guy like Tyrese and Jabari Smith and Amen Thompson that can be a Dylan Brooks. Fill that role, fill that void that is left with Dylan Brooks being traded. Jalen Green is a polarizing player. I think he's still super skilled. I just think he proved in Houston he can't be the number one guy on a championship team. That is no knock to Jalen Green. There's not a lot of people that are built to be the number one guy on a championship level team. And that's what everybody's fighting for. He has a solid contract that Phoenix can partner to get something else, or they can keep him and see what he looks like next to a guy like Dylan or like Devin Booker. But so I think Phoenix, it's a solid trade for them. And Kevin Durant. Now Kevin Durant moving to Houston. Now obviously he's 36 years old. He's at the tail end of his career. But what he gives Houston is something they haven't had all these past 2 years and since James Harden has left. They have a proven scorer that can get a bucket whenever he needs to. Now, obviously, it's not as potent, it's not as predictable, it's not as you give Kevin Durant the ball, he's going to score every time. But when you need him down the stretch of a game to get some shots up, to knock down some difficult shots, Kevin Durant is that guy that you want on your team. He is probably the most skilled scorer we have ever seen in the NBA. And you get to pair him with such an amazing defensive team while also keeping all your young pieces. If it doesn't work out, Kevin Durant, his contract isn't that much longer. I think he has what? Next year maybe, and then I think he's done with. Let me just check. I can't look at it right now, but I believe he only has one more year under his contract. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You can move on from him and then just use your young pieces. Like this trade, Jalen Green obviously is a younger piece that still has time to develop, still has time to become a star. I just don't think he's going to be the number one guy on a championship level team. Dylan Brooks, expendable piece. First round pick, obviously. That 10th overall pick could have been Asa Newell, could have been a who else went after Cedric Coward, Noah Senge, Carter Bryant. Any of these pieces would have also fit well with Houston, but I don't think they wanted to bring in another young piece. That's why they traded it away. They got Cam Whitmore just kind of sitting there not getting minutes. Reed Shepard didn't get a ton of minutes in his rookie year. Tyrese still coming off the bench. But the biggest piece in this is what Amen Thompson is going to turn into. Is he really going to? He's going to continue to be a defensive like menace. Can the offensive game continue to grow to where he can kind of sit in the corner and knock down a couple threes? Or is he going to always be a guy that has to rely on getting downhill or having the ball in his hand, getting downhill? The off ball movement, I think, from Ahmed Thompson is already at a high level. It was already at a high level coming in to like him coming into the league. And you still keep Fred VanVleet, which he just signed another extension for the Houston Rockets, which I love for them. He was one arguably their second best player in the playoffs. I would still put Şengün at number one because Şengün was battling with some bodies down low and was still getting his shots off, still opening up the game for a lot of people. But Fred VanVleet can always knock down the three ball when you need him to. As a small guard, his 3-point shooting isn't amazing, but when he needs to knock it down, he's going to knock it down. And now you add Kevin Durant, proven scorer. Obviously, the defensive like upside of Kevin Durant isn't huge. He can still like lock. He can lock in on defense. He can block some shots with just his size. But you're not gonna rely on him. That's why you have Amen Thompson. That's why you have Jabari Smith, Tyrese, and whoever you choose to put in the starting lineup next to KD at the forward position. So I love the trade. Phoenix, I'm gonna give them after the draft getting Kaman Maluak. I love that pick for them. Jalen Green, you see what he turns into. Dylan Brooks kind of just fits next to a Devin Booker piece. I'm gonna give it a B minus because I think they could have got a young piece along with it, like Cam Whitmore or Reed Shepard. So not getting either one of those guys kind of hurts the stock of the trade a little bit. For Houston, I think it's got to be a B plus A minus. I think I'll give it an A because you only gave up one first round pick for Kevin Durant. So that's why I'll put it above, a little bit above the Desmond Bane trade. Now, obviously, the Celtics, the biggest talking point going into the offseason, which was, excuse me, biggest talking point for the Celtics was obviously money wise. They had to break up the super team a little bit. And obviously, Jason Tatum being out pretty much all of next year is something that they had to worry about. So they go out there. A couple days ago, they trade away Drew Holiday, who is pissed where he's at, and they get Anthony Simons and two future second round picks. Now, Anthony Simons, kind of another polarizing guy like a Jalen Green. I like Anthony Simons. I don't know what he's going to look like in Boston. I don't know where his contract is up in I think a year, I believe, or maybe 2 years. So at that point, I think he fits what they need. Another 3-point shooter, not the crazy defensive upside like Drew Holiday, but a better 3-point shooter than Drew Holiday, I believe. Like he is just a better 3-point shooter. Now, obviously, the defensive side, he is not anywhere near Drew Holiday. Derek White, I mean, he fits as a good point guard next to Derek White. I just don't know if Boston's like locked into him. They'll see after a year of him playing in TD Garden if they want to keep him, if they want to move on from him. just opens up more money for the other guys that they like to keep Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum together and Derek White and Drew Holiday. Now, obviously, Portland, maybe it was just a salary dump to just in a year we can get off the Drew Holiday contract and we open up some books. But Drew Holiday is pissed. He does not want to be in Portland at all. He's I'm pretty sure he's saying that he's not going to play in Portland. So that kind of hits you in a like, man, what do we do now? But I mean, we'll see. I mean, a lot of people say that they're not going to play. They end up playing. For this trade, I think I'll give it a C for Portland, and I'll give it a C plus. I'll give it a C minus for Portland, and I'll give it a C plus for the Celtics. I'm just not super confident that Anthony Simons is what they're going to be looking for, and I don't think he's going to be locked into Boston. And it was just a salary dump. So if you take it from a salary dump perspective, I would say maybe a B minus, but I don't know. Just as nothing. This trade doesn't really do much for me. It doesn't really wow me. It doesn't really. It's nothing crazy in my opinion. Now, kind of a questionable trade that I wasn't expecting to see. The Washington Wizards made a trade with the New Orleans Pelicans. The Wizards get CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second round pick. And the Pelicans get Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and a 2025 second round pick. Now, I don't like this trade for New Orleans. I'm not a huge fan of Jordan Poole. I don't really like how his fit, and I don't like how they drafted and this trade. At like now looking back after after the draft, it makes me change my opinion a lot more. They drafted Jeremiah Fears, who is kind of a Jordan Poole archetype. I don't want a guy like Jordan Poole to be taking shots away from Jeremiah Fears, who I want to turn into a shot creator. I don't want him. Jordan Poole is not a he's a self creator. He's not a team creator. He's not going to get us in our offense. He's not going to get us flowing. Now, CJ McCollum to Washington. Washington now, kind of a weird group of old guys and new guys, but I like the old guys that they're bringing in. You got Marcus Smart, you got CJ McCollum, and you got Chris Middleton. I like all three of those guys being able to teach the guys that are these young guys in Washington, and then in a year or two, they get off the contracts. They have money to give their young guys. They have money to bring in a new guy that they want to bring in. I love it. CJ McCollum. They just drafted Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson can learn under CJ McCollum. They just drafted who else did they draft? Uh where did where's Washington? They just drafted Will Riley. 6'5" guard forward, can learn under Chris Middleton. Bilal Coulibaly, defensive minded guy, can learn from Marcus Smart. Bub Carrington can learn from Marcus Smart. So many good young pieces and really solid vets that are good vets. Jordan Poole is not a good vet to have on a super young team. If you're a championship level team and you have a Jordan Poole coming off your bench or maybe playing the two guard, depending on the build of the team, then yeah, I would say he's maybe a good vet. But for Washington, I never liked him in Washington. I never liked his fit with them. I didn't like him being a vet for those guys. And now you get CJ McCollum, who has been through a lot. He's been on some really bad teams. He's been on some really good teams. He knows how to teach some of these young guys. So does Marcus Smart. So does Chris Middleton. So love the direction the Wizards are going to. And just from right now, I really like the direction the Wizards are going in. And I might sound a little crazy, I think Washington could push for a play-in spot and maybe make the playoffs next year. I get that like they were so bad this last year, like so bad. But they were so bad to the point where they had to go out and trade for vets so they weren't that bad. Now, obviously, they didn't get where they wanted to in the draft, but I really like their draft they had. Will Riley and Trey Johnson, both of those picks are amazing in my opinion for where they got them. Trey Johnson could have easily gone third or fourth before them, and they still got him. Will Riley could have been drafted probably in the lottery, maybe a little bit later, and they got him at what? They got him at 22 or 21. 21. They got him at 21. Love that. Now for the Pelicans. So for the Wizards, I'm gonna give them an I'm gonna give them an A for this trade. Actually, it's just CJ McCollum. Kelly Olynyk is also a solid role player on a team. Could come off the bench, stretch shooter. Another vet that I mean Alex Sarr. I don't know if he's gonna take much from Kelly Olynyk, but if he needs to, he could. Just give him some solid pointers, and Kelly Olynyk seems like a good locker room guy to have. So I really like this trade for the Wizards. I think I don't know if I can give it an A because I gave the Kevin Durant trade an A and I gave the Desmond Bane trade an A minus. But every trade is different. So I'm gonna give this trade a B plus for the Wizards. Now for the Pelicans. I don't like Jordan Poole's fit with another young team that again is struggling to find a direction they want to go in. Are they going to rebuild? Are they going to retool around Zion? Is Zion going to be gone? Now I know Joe Dumars said that they weren't going to trade away Zion, but they also said they were going to have a flash sale that Trey Murphy the third could be gone, Herb Jones could be gone, CJ's already gone, Eves Missy that they're not super high on. I guess. I mean, it's just a mid trade in my opinion for the Pelicans. I just don't like it, and I'm just gonna give them a C. We'll see how it goes. It could this trade could drop all the way down to an F if the Pelicans are sitting again at the bottom of the Western Conference and the Wizards find their way into the play-in. And Jordan Poole continues to be Jordan Poole and you just aren't happy with him being on your team like a lot of teams are going to be unless you're a championship level team. Jordan Poole got paid. Congrats, he got paid. He's got his ring already. He's going to chase the money. But until he's off that contract, I don't look at him as being a guy that any team, unless you are literally fighting for the championship, that you would want. Like he's just so inconsistent, and I just don't know his value and his role on a team in the way that I don't think he's a great vet for a lot of guys because he's still a young guy in his own way. So yeah, I'm just gonna give it a C, but this trade could fall all the way down to an F. Now, a three team trade that involved another salary dump from the Boston Celtics. This trade saw Terrence Mann and the number 22 overall pick in this year's draft go to Brooklyn. Then Atlanta gets Kristaps Porzingis and a second round pick, and the Celtics get George Niang and a second round pick. Now, this trade it involves Kristaps Porzingis, but this trade is not a huge trade in my opinion. I don't look at this as a swing for any of these teams. Honestly, it's just a straight salary dump, and that's the biggest thing. So for Boston, Kristaps struggled to be on the court the past 2 years, struggled in the playoffs. Really, like he struggled incredibly, and yeah, I mean, he wasn't really a part of their core. He was on the championship team, but he was only there for what, 2, maybe 3 years now. I'm gonna give the trade a B for Boston. It's just a salary dump, nothing crazy. You get George Niang back in return. He's a solid role player, but he's not gonna change anything on your team. Obviously, we know Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're not super high on George Niang. We've seen those guys kind of battle a couple times in their careers. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to give it a B. Now for Atlanta, you get Kristaps. You put him next to Trae Young. Obviously, Kristaps. Excuse me. Now, Kristaps, kind of a weird player. I'm not expecting much from him in Atlanta. I'm expecting maybe pretty similar to his days in Dallas, if you remember those days next to Luka Doncic. I think Kristaps at the tail end of his prime, or even out of his prime, and just kind of he's settling into being just kind of a guy out there. And yeah, I also don't like that Atlanta chose traded for Kristaps, then went out and drafted Asa Newell, and you still got Onyeka Okongwu, just kind of a build up in the front court position for them. I mean, it's okay. I'm not super high on the trade for anybody other than the Celtics getting the draft or the cap dump, but I mean, it's a solid trade. If Kristaps works out, this is another team that is also climbing up the ladder, having Kristaps, having Asa Newell, having Dyson Daniels have that breakout year, getting Jalen Johnson back next year. They're another team that's going to climb up that leaderboard, climb up the standings in the Eastern Conference with Boston falling and Indy maybe falling, and just it's they're putting themselves in a position to be a solid playoff team. I'm not projecting them to go anything further than maybe the second round, but yeah, I mean it's a solid trade. I'll give them a B as well. So I put them in Boston in the same direction because I think they both got solid pieces from it. Boston gets rid of all their cap with Kristaps trade or with Kristaps' contract, and Atlanta gets a solid piece that if he's healthy all year, they could look at maybe being the 5, 6, maybe even the 4 seed. Skip the plan and just be straight a playoff team. Now for Brooklyn, get Terrence Mann. Just kind of had to pick up a contract. You get the 22nd overall pick. Now we're gonna talk about this a little bit more when we talk about the draft in a couple minutes. I did not like the way Brooklyn drafted. I like this trade, or I like this pick. Drake Powell, I think, is solid for them. He could be a really good 3-and-D guy. Now, is that kind of what they need? I think they could have drafted a little bit more for upside. I think maybe they could have even gone for a better 3-and-D guy with Nick Clifford a couple picks later. So I'm just gonna give it. I'm not gonna talk much about this. I'm just gonna give it a C because I just don't know how to feel about Drake Powell. So that's what I'm going to put this trade as. Now, those are all like the big trades so far. Obviously, on draft night, now we're moving into the draft. A big trade for a player. We saw Mark Williams get traded to Phoenix for Micic, which he's going back to Charlotte. I believe I think he was just on Charlotte last year, was a part of the Nurkic trade that got him sent to Phoenix. Now he's going back to Charlotte. The number 29 overall pick, which turned into Liam McNeely, and the 2029 first round pick. Now, Mark Williams, we all know about his physical, having a bad physical with the Lakers, and that's why they returned that trade, got back, who was it? Dalton Connect. So, Mark Williams, and you draft Kamal Maluak. Now, this happened literally at the exact same time. They traded for Mark Williams and drafted Kamal Maluak. Now, obviously, man, which is what they call Kaman, I don't think he's ready to start day one. I don't think he'll start a lot during the season. I think he's only going to start if Mark Williams is out. Now, that could be a lot because Mark Williams, obviously, we know he has a bad physical. He's about one bad injury away from sitting for a lot of time and missing a lot of his career. I like the Kaman Maluwak draft pick for Phoenix. I don't feel great about this trade. I think giving up two first round picks for a guy that what did he go for in the Lakers trade? I just want to remember what he went for in the Lakers trade. I wanted to see what picks he was going for. Um, the Lakers had previously agreed to trade Dalton Connect, a 2031 first round pick, and a 2030 pick swap. So they gave up more first round picks than the Lakers did to get Mark Williams. One was a this year trade, a draft pick, and a 2029 draft pick. Now the Suns are probably going to be pretty solid in 2029, and it was a 29th overall pick. But Liam McNeely is a solid guy that I think is going would have fit perfectly on Phoenix as a like a 3-point shooter next to Devin Booker, next to Jalen Green. So I think I'm not gonna grade this trade because I think with it being on draft night, it's a little bit different than being kind of multiple days of working out a trade. I can still rate it, but I'm not gonna rate all the draft day trades because a lot of them are for picks and exchanging picks. But I think I'll maybe give Phoenix a C plus. It could go up to a B plus if he stays healthy and they can re-sign him. And for Hornets, I'll give him a B. Think getting two first round picks for a guy that you don't know if he's going to be healthy or in the league in 2 to 3 years due to injury is something that you got to look out for. Now, some other trades that happened. This was a very interesting trade. I love this trade for the Grizzlies. They traded up to get the number 11th pick from the Trailblazers, who then sent the Grizzlies sent the 16th overall pick, a 2028 first round pick, and two second round picks to the Grizzlies to get Cedric or to Portland so they could get the 11th overall pick. Now that 16th overall pick was, I believe, from Orlando. Just make sure. Or no, what was the Orlando trade pick? The Orlando pick was where was the Orlando pick? Hello? What? Where is Orlando's pick? I'm so confused. Well, or they had the 25th, but where's the pick that went to the Grizzlies? All right, it doesn't matter. Now, Cedric Coward, I think he fits perfectly next to Jalen Wells, between Jalen Wells and John Morant in the front court, back court kind of pairing, whatever you want to put. If you want to put Jalen Wells at the two, you could do it. If you want to put Cedric Coward at the two, love it. Really solid 3 and D guy. Injury concerns a little bit, but I think for the Grizzlies, I think they won moving up and being able to get him and what he's going to be able to give them. I mean, they're going to have such an amazing defensive core with Cedric Coward, with Jalen Wells, with Triple J, who's been in Defensive Player of the Year talks before. Zach Edey is a solid defensive player when he's in the paint, and when he gets pulled out, questionable. But when he's in his position that he thrives in, he is one of the best. And then for the Trailblazers. Now, I think this is where we get to more just talking about the draft as a whole. First, we're going to start off with obviously Cooper Flag goes number one. We all expected that. Dylan Harper goes two. All expected that. Three, there was some talks of where Philly would go. Ace Bailey was always projected to them throughout the year. They went with VJ Edgecombe. Now, VJ, really, really good athlete. Really good athlete. I think he's going to be super solid in the NBA. I think he could maybe become a sort of Donovan Mitchell type player, maybe. I just don't. I thought with Philly, now they have an amazing young core that if Joel Embiid is moved, if cannot stay healthy and you move on from him, you have Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Quinn Grimes. I mean, super solid young core. I just don't know if that young core can all be on the court together in a couple years. That's my only thing. But if you look at him as being a backup guard for a couple years and just being able to learn the game, come in and just get your shots up, do your play your role, and just be on the court. I mean, I love the pick. Four for the Hornets, Con Knipple. I'm not super high on Con Knipple. I think he's a solid. He'll be a solid NBA player. I just don't know his floor is high, but his ceiling is not super high. That's my only thing with him. Now, obviously, maybe that's just what Charlotte needs. Maybe they just need a solid guy because they drafted Tajon Salon last year, who is kind of just a project pick. You kind of get a guy that's ready now to be in the NBA. So I like that I like that draft for them. Five, Ace Bailey to Utah. One of the places he said he didn't want to go to. He did not look happy, but I think it's perfect fit for Ace Bailey. He's going to come in and be able to get his shots up, be able to create, be able to learn the game his own way. Now, and I think Will Hardy is a great player development coach, and Utah has a really solid young core. You got Keontae George, who struggled a little bit last year. Isaiah Collier, who's going to get Ace Bailey his shots. I mean, he just broke the John Stockton rookie assist record. And now Ace Bailey, Walker Kessler, if he doesn't get traded, solid core. Lauri Markkanen is still there. Super solid core in my opinion. Now, one of my favorite picks, Trey Johnson falling to six to Washington after you move on from Jordan Poole and you get CJ McCollum. We talked about that already. Just being him being able to learn underneath CJ McCollum, underneath Marcus Smart. I love this just draft pick for them. That's all I'm gonna say. Now, seven, Jeremiah Fears to New Orleans. I would have loved this pick a little bit more if they didn't just trade and get Jordan Poole. That's the only thing. I just don't like him coming off the bench next to Jordan Poole. I think they're going to be fighting for the same shots and the same minutes. That's my only ick and criteria to that pick. I think Jeremiah Fears will be a solid NBA player though. Don't know his ceiling as of right now, but we'll see in a couple of years. Now, the first of a couple stretches and a couple reaches in the first round. Yegor Demon going to Brooklyn. Now, Brooklyn, 5 first round picks. Most of all time, they broke the record for the most draft picks in the first round in NBA history. I did not like their draft at all. Yegor Demon, a guard out of BYU. Big guard, though. Really big guard. I think he's like 6'7", 6'8". So he's a huge guard. I think they were really hoping for Jeremiah Fears to fall to them. He did not, and then they just scrambled and picked Yegor Demon. Because then, their second pick, the 19th overall pick, They picked Nolan Traore, solid, but another guard. I don't really know much about Nolan Traore being an international prospect. I don't know much about him, so I'm not going to speak much about him. Then you go and pick another guard in Ben Saraf, who, again, don't know much about him, so I'm not going to speak too much on him. I don't want to say anything that I don't know. And then you get, or Drake Powell was before Ben Saraf. I like Drake Powell, 3-and-D guy. Don't know if his ceiling is super high, but his floor is going to be a solid role player for any team in the NBA, probably. Then you draft Danny Wolf with the last pick. I like the Danny Wolf pick. 7-foot guy that's super skilled. Big man rotation for Brooklyn is kind of loaded right now. Day'Ron Sharpe might not be coming back. Nick Claxton might be on the move. But I think this trade locked up that they think Claxton's going to be there next year, because I think if they weren't sure Claxton was going to be there next year, I think they would have drafted a center higher, and it would have gone with like maybe an Asa Newell or a Thomas Sorber or Juan Berenger, I believe is how you pronounce his name. So for me, didn't really like Brooklyn's draft. Like, I think a lot of them will be solid NBA players. I just don't know if it puts Brooklyn in a position where they're like, yeah, we have our solid young pieces, but it all takes time for some of these guys. Now, just skimming over a lot of the other draft picks in the lottery, Colin Murray Boyles, like that pick for Toronto. I wanted Kamal Maluwak to go there. He felt like such a perfect fit in Toronto, being again, or not again, but Masai Ujiri being a super huge advocate for African basketball. Kamal Maluwak being from Sudan, South Sudan, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought that was a perfect fit for them. But they just got another 6'7" forward that just fits what they've been running with since the Kawhi Leonard days, post Kawhi Leonard days, where they've just been running out there with a lot of forwards, big guards, and we'll see how it goes. Spoke on the Kamal Maluwak draft pick for Phoenix, love it. Spoke on the Cedric Coward draft pick for Memphis, also love it. Noah Senge to the Bulls, not super high on it. 6'10" frame, 204, 204 pounds. Don't know much about him. I just think I'm not high on the pick because I think they kind of just drafted that last year with Manas Buzelis, and you also have Patrick Williams still on the books, so I don't know exactly where he fits in with the forward rotation, but we'll see. Derek Queen, 13th to New Orleans. Good value for New Orleans because they were thinking about drafting him at 7, where they drafted Jeremiah Fears. He falls to 13th. They get him there. I don't know. I think that just the defensive impact of Derek Queen, it makes me really shy away from picking him, in my opinion. I'm not high on him. Super skilled offensive guy. I just don't know where he fits. He's a little undersized and doesn't have the shot blocking capabilities of a 5-man, and he's not as physically gifted and athletic to be a 4-man in the NBA, but we will see. The can skill beats skill beats athleticism sometimes, so we'll see what happens. Carter Bryant to San Antonio. Love this pick for San Antonio. High effort guy, shot the ball, continued to shoot the ball better and better and better throughout the year in Arizona. Love his fit next to Wemby, next to Fox, next to Castle, and now Dylan Harper. He's going to get his shots up, and he just fits perfectly with what they have there. Thomas Sorber or Sorbet, I'm I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name. I believe it's Sorber. Georgetown. Obviously, he doesn't want to mess with the DePaul boys, but shout out to Thomas Sorber. I like him. Kind of an old school big man. I think this draft pick is a lot more like the Nikola Topic draft pick of last year. Draft a guy that's coming off an injury, and you just allow them to sit and develop, understand the feel of being an NBA player before you throw them onto the court. That's kind of what Nikola Topic did all year. Now Sorber not dealing with an ACL injury, so he's going to be able to get some minutes this year, but getting such a great player development in Oklahoma City is just going to help him just continue to grow as a player. Now, I'm just going to cover a couple more picks. Hansen Yang going to Portland at pick 16. This guy was projected outside the first round. I saw him hooping in the scrimmages for the NBA Combine. He looks like a beast. I just don't think this was the right pick at 16 when he was projected to go in the second round. Now, obviously, if you like your guy, go get your guy. But you could have maybe traded back even further, got some more draft capital, maybe got a player involved. I just also don't. He's another big man, 7'1" big man from China. You just drafted Klingman last year, who's 7'4" from UConn, and you still have Aiton, and you still have Rob Will. Just I, it's gonna be super difficult for him to get any minutes in year one. Maybe he's just gonna sit in the G League for a year, develop. Maybe. So we'll see with him. But it could be a big, huge reach that Portland is going to reflect on for a long time. Now, some other people to talk about. Kasparis Yakashonis dropping to pick 20 when he was projected to go in the top 10. Good value for Miami at 20. I'm not super high on the pick for Miami. I just think they need more than a high floor guy. They need somebody that has high ceiling. That's what I was picturing for them. Maybe Will Riley could have been that pick for them, but they didn't go that way. He's going to be a solid NBA player. I just don't know if his ceiling is high enough for Miami to look at him and be like, "Yeah, we got our guy." So, guard rotation, he's a big guard, but if they decide to bring back Davion next year, he's going to fight for some positional minutes with Davion, and Tyler Herro is also at the guard position, so we'll see. Now, final thing we're going to talk about. I didn't put out a Sacramento Kings offseason guide because I was scared to put it out, in my opinion, because I thought if I put it out, the Sacramento Kings would make no moves all year, all offseason long. They're going to sign a couple free agents. We're going to draft our second round pick, and then we're just going to kind of chill. But they trade into the first round, gave up a 2027 first round pick, I believe, which depends on where we are in the draft. 2027 draft is too far away to predict who's going to be in it, who's going to land where. Now, we trade in with Oklahoma City. They get another future first round pick. Continue to do that. But we get Nick Clifford. I love this draft pick from the Sacramento Kings. 6'5", 202 pounds. Really, really solid guy. Now, is an older rookie. But if we want to contend, but this is the only thing I have an issue with. This fits perfectly into just being a play-in team again next year. I want us to be better than a play-in team. So hopefully he can continue to be what he was at Colorado State, and Keegan Murray could have a jump. Devin Carter could have a jump this offseason into next year. And maybe we can move on from DeMar, Zach, or Domas. We'll see though. But yeah, I like this draft pick from us. I think it was a super solid draft pick. Again, it's always going to depend on what that 2027 pick turns into. But right now, I think this is a solid. I'll give it a B plus for Sacramento, and I mean Oklahoma City. You can't really rate it for Oklahoma City. Nick Clifford probably could have fit in perfectly there, but I think anybody could fit perfectly in there. But yeah, I love that trade from Sacramento. Hopefully, that means we're going to make some more moves this offseason. We're not just going to stay pat with what we have. But I love the little core outside of. We have a nice younger core outside of our older guys. Keegan Murray, obviously, kind of peaked so far. Hopefully, he can get back to where he was in his rookie year and a little bit better than that. Devin Carter showed some flashes, dealt with an injury for most of the year that put him out. Keon Ellis is still a young guy, and now we got Nick Clifford coming in. I'm still high on Isaac Jones. I think he showed us a couple of huge flashes last year. This is going to be a super. I like our core post DeMar, Zach, and Domantas Sabonis. If we move on from those guys eventually, we would let them walk in free agency when their contract's up. We trade them away, get some other young pieces in. I like our young core behind these guys and what they bring to us. Defensive upside from Nick Clifford, defensive upside, 3-point shooting. I think he fits. He fit with a lot of teams throughout the draft. It's just 23-year-old rookie. Where are you going to draft him at? You're not going to really draft him inside the top 15. But outside the top 15, I mean, I kept looking and going, I mean, Atlanta, they could use him. Washington, they could use him. Brooklyn, they could use him. Miami, I mean, there was so many places where he could have ended up. So I'm happy that Sacramento chose to move in to the first round and draft him. I mean, huge for us. Now, second round is tonight. Sacramento has the 12th overall pick in the second round, the 42nd overall pick. And then after that, we have no more. Hopefully, we'll look at best available right now. There's a couple people that I really like that Sacramento could maybe go up and get. I'm I think the only thing is we'd have to trade up again for some of these guys. I wouldn't be super upset if we do. Any three of the like top available guys right now, Maxime Renaud, Rasheer Fleming, or Noah Penda. I don't know much about Noah Penda, so maybe not a lot about him, but I mean 6'7" guy with a 6'11" and a half foot wingspan. He's gonna be a solid NBA player in my opinion. Hopefully he will be. But either Maxime Renaud or Rasheer Fleming, either one of those guys, if we traded up and got either one of them, I'd be super happy. I just think they're both going to go the first two picks, and then after that, I like Chaz Lanier from Tennessee. He had a huge year at Tennessee after coming blowing up from, I believe he was from a small, like a mid-major school, I believe. Other than that, I just don't know a lot about a couple of, like some of these guys towards the end. Dink Pate guy or Dink Pate, he has some really amazing highlights. I just don't know much to think about him. But other than that, Cam Jones, maybe another older rookie, but he has been a killer for Marquette for a long time. So hopefully he can maybe translate that. Zion James from Duke could also be another solid NBA player. I just don't want us to draft Janai Broom. That's the only thing I don't want us to draft. are the only guy I don't want us to draft. Janai Broom and Ryan Kalkbrenner. Both of those guys, I don't want us to draft them. I don't like their fit in Sacramento with the pace and space that we play with. And yeah, we'll just see. That's all I have today. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Beyond the Scoreboard. And I am your host, Michael Lyons.